time for the Fantastic Four. Now I know they've never had the best luck when it comes to adaptations, but they're still a really cool team. I'm Sasha Wood, and let's dive into the top 10 fantastic facts about the Fantastic Four. Number 10. The Fantastic Four were known in comics, or at least on their covers, as the Fantastic Four, until issue 16, published in 1963, wherein the book simply became known as Fantastic Four, and so they dropped the. It also boasted the tagline, "The world's greatest comic magazine," a phrase coined by Stan Lee, modified from the greatest comic magazine in the world after the book began to receive fan mail. This was a staple on covers through the 90s and early 2000s, but now it's kind of a bit hyperbolic. Number 9. The Fantastic Four was actually the birthplace of another popular and historically important superhero, that being the Black Panther. The Black Panther debuted in Fantastic Four number 52 in 1966 and became America's first mainstream African-American superhero. A burning question in at number 8. As many fans know, there are some odd ongoing debates out there, especially when it comes to some characters' abilities and strengths. And for Ben Grimm, the Thing, fans wanted to know, did he still have a penis? Yes, not will he ever regain his true form, or is he susceptible to erosion, but does he still have his nethers? Well, Stan Lee actually answered the question in 2011 in an interview with Vanity Fair of all places, and Lee replied, "I guess common sense would say it was made of orange rock too." So for all of those wondering, there you go. He also goes into some detail about how awesome Mr. Fantastic would be in bed given his powers. It's an odd interview. And to be honest, I don't think any amount of prowess can make up for what a jerk Reed is. Remember the League of Evil Reeds? Cause I do. Number 7. Dr. Doom helped Sue Storm give birth to her daughter. In exchange, his price was that he got to name the child. This is why Reed and Sue's second child is named Valeria. Yeah, the Fantastic Four's relationship with Dr. Doom is complicated. So much interesting stuff happens, just why can't they ever adapt any of it? Number 6. Ben Grimm is Jewish. While this may not seem like a statement worthy of its own fact, what makes it so is that it was taboo to mention a character's faith or religious practices in the early days of comic books. This fact was not explicitly stated until 2002, nearly 4 decades after the team had debuted. Some changes the team brought to comics in at number 5. When they first appeared, the Fantastic Four was one of the first, if not the first superhero team to present characters with explicitly stated guilts and flaws, such as Reed's guilt over turning Ben Grimm into the Thing, Johnny Storm's quest to be taken seriously and be treated like an adult despite very much acting like a child, the fact that their arguments would even sometimes hinder their missions. This level of realism would soon spread outwards to all comics, but in 1961 it was still pretty novel. Number 4. The Invisible Woman's powers were decided upon because Stan Lee did not want her to be a copy of Wonder Woman, as he felt super strength and punching people were a key part of Princess Diana's character. So eventually invisibility was chosen. The original plot summary had it so that when Sue had to transform, she had to take her clothes off to use her powers properly. However, it was noted this was too sexy for a comic book. This was in the beginning before her powers were expanded years later. So she was just able to make her clothes invisible along with the rest of her. Although it does help that their clothes were made out of unstable molecules. Number 3. The method Stan Lee and Jack Kirby used to create the Fantastic Four became known as the Marvel Method, and following this comic's success became widely used at the company. It consisted of the penciler being given a synopsis and then proceeding to draw the entire story, only to then pass it back to the author, who would at that point add the bubbles and captions. While certainly a quick and effective method, if there was poor communication between author and artist, it could lead to a slightly disjointed tone, where dialogue and art didn't always quite match. Which brings us right into number 2. Like many a superhero, who truly created the Fantastic Four is a matter of some historical contention. While the creation/idea is often attributed to Stan Lee, the artist Jack Kirby, with whom Lee worked closely, claimed that he came up with the idea and that Lee only added dialogue to the story after it had already been penciled, as mentioned with the Marvel Method. He also claimed that he had created some of the key visual concepts, although Lee did create their famous four insignia. Lee claims the idea came to him after it was suggested Marvel create its own superhero team, and he took it as an opportunity to, I quote, "Just this once I would do the type of story I myself would enjoy reading, and the characters would be the kind of characters I would personally relate to. They'd be flesh and blood, they'd have their faults and foibles." While it is unclear who deserves more credit, most comic historians have settled upon giving them equal credit, since as with most of these arguments, it's largely a he said, he said. Though in Lee's case, he does have a typed up synopsis for the Fantastic Four's first story, but some people point out who knows if he wrote that before or after, although based on the Marvel method you would assume before. And our number one fact? Disney and the success of Disney's Marvelverse is cutting down on the amount of material produced featuring the Fantastic Four at the time of this recording. Because of the lack of success of the 20th Century Fox films featuring this team, Marvel CEO does not want to put as much effort into producing merchandise or material for them. And staff members actually aren't allowed to have artwork featuring the Fantastic Four on their desks anymore. Harsh. That makes me really sad, actually. So those were 10 fantastic facts about the Fantastic Four. This team has been on quite the wild ride together, and I for one love them and hope they have another resurgence. They're actually really cool. Let us know what lists you want to see next here on Top 10 Nerd. I'm Sasha Wood, and be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe so you never miss another nerdy list. See ya!